All right, so it's been a minute. We're going to do the recap here of things we've read since the last recap. There's going to be like shorter reviews. Kind of takes me a while to get to these things because it's difficult to find time to record. Because I like to have the house to myself because it's kind of embarrassing to do this. So here's the stack. Quite a bit of yellow. And so this go around, we got some adult western, we got this mystery vigilante action, some Lou Archer hard-boiled. The Mexican Connection is a drug smuggler versus narc. And Robert E. Howard, Black Canaan, the weird horror stories. Okay, so first we're going to do this Dead of Winter from 1972. I had a hard time trying to figure out what genre this fit in because I thought it was just going to be a pure men's adventure from the cover. And I'm not a fan of guns or anything, but I really love the way that drawing is. Just the detail and the gloss. Very cool looking. I tried to find out who the artist was, but I couldn't. It starts off with this short chapter that's a flash forward where it's like a missed hit, and the guy who dodges the hit picks up the phone, and it's like, oh, you missed me, it's your turn. So I thought for sure this is 100% what it was going to be, just a back and forth killer versus killer, which I'm not a fan of. I find that stuff so monotonous. Like that movie Killing Season with Robert De Niro and John Travolta, where he plays the Serbian guy. Man, that movie is so boring. Just the repetitiveness, I think, is I'm not a fan of repetition. I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep reading this until I get bored with it, and then I'll stop. I just want to see what it's about. And I'm glad that I kept reading because I was pleasantly surprised. It's sort of like a Russian doll mystery where every mystery that's solved, every riddle that's solved, there's another one for them to be solving. So essentially, it starts right away. There's like 4 poker buddies. They're all separate at the time. And one of them gets like beat with a blackjack, and it separates all the muscles in his body. He goes to the hospital, and he has a heart attack and dies. And then the 3 remaining friends swear vengeance. You know, like, how could someone do this? The 3 guys are like everyday Joes. One's in marketing, one's a philosophy teacher, which is really weird. And it's really funny because the philosophy teacher like screams for murder. Like, this guy wants vengeance. He totally wants to be the vigilante. He kind of entices it all. And he's also, like the worst at it. And then there's like a big game hunter. That's what he does in his like spare time. I think, what the hell was he? Oh, he's a salesman. So the big game hunter's a salesman. So you figure, like, they got the big game hunter. He's going to be the killer. He's going to be the one that's, like, pushing it. But actually, he's not. Which I thought was really interesting, that they didn't have him be the main antagonist. It's actually the marketing guy who's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes, like an amateur Sherlock Holmes dude who's, like, solves the riddles and, like, stays up late and cracks the code. And I read some review where they were like complaining that these everyday guys are thrown in this situation and all of a sudden they're experts, but I don't know. I don't think that they are, and I think that just because you got stuck in a marketing position doesn't mean you have other assets that aren't untapped. Like, who knows what's inside of people. So it is, to me, it was possible. It wasn't ludicrous that a guy in marketing was solving these kind of killer riddles. They kind of investigate and they go and see that, like, there's some kind of not necessarily mafia, but kind of something like that, like a criminal enterprise set up of all these bad dudes and all these different sections. And it's I'm not going to say what it is, but their friend is like involved in this thing. They don't know if he's like an innocently involved or he's like a participant, what his actual focus in this crime is, what he's being punished for, I guess. And so they kind of just, as it goes along, they're like uncovering things. And you get to learn more, and it's like each part is its own little mystery. And every time they solve a mystery, there's more mystery. Like it opens up the Russian doll. There's more. And it was just really like enthralling. I couldn't stop reading it. It was so good. When I got done with it, I was like, this is probably the best mystery book I've ever read, But then now, like, as I reflect upon it, I'm like, I don't know if I go that far, but it's definitely an exciting mystery. It's not like questioning, sitting back and, usual suspects, the cops gather them in. It's like very action filled. And it does have the vigilante. It is like a men's adventure, but the mystery aspect is very high up in it. And this was great. Great stuff. Okay, so next up is the 1977 The Mexican Connection, put out by Leisure. So kind of men's adventure-y again. So what I thought this book was, I thought it was going to be like, like tough on crime, like very conservative outlook on crime, where they, cross the lines to kill the bad guys and everything's cool and that's how it should be and whatever. But as I was reading this, it was just something weird was happening to where I was like, all the preconceived notions of what I thought this were, like, started unraveling. So the Mexican Connection is about a medium-sized drug smuggling ring of like everyday white middle-class dudes flying down to Mexico to pick up mostly weed. And then I think they get into coke later on, and then the big score is lewds. So obviously this is from the 70s, because Quaaludes don't exist anymore. From the description, all I could picture was Tim Allen, that arrest photo of Tim Allen with his big mustache, and I'll put it up there, but that's who I kind of picture the main characters as. It's like Tim Allen gone bad. And then there's the narcotics agent who's out to get them, who's like literally described like a fucking hard-on. Like, this guy is described like an erect penis. Like, he has no problem bending the rules, breaking the rules. He'll kill, he'll torture, he'll piss all over your civil rights, as long as the bad guy is stopped from bringing weed into his country. It's all okay. And I'm just like, right off the bat, I was like, oh man, this is like going to be from this guy's perspective, and it's going to be funny, because it's going to be so ridiculous of how this guy is right and these hippies are wrong. He's really unlikable, and I was like, maybe it's just, I just figured it was just me, because I just, it's not my type of hero. But then the drug dealers were very likable, and I started to get the sense that it wasn't an accident. And I'm like, why are the good guys the drug dealers? And like the cop, like everyone kind of hates him. Like his boss hates him. Like he doesn't have any partners, and he does have like some help at the police station, but it's not like anyone's hanging out with him. They're not taking their break with him, There's like all these multiple scenes where the cop looks like a jackass. And I'm still confused. I'm like halfway through, and I'm like, who's the hero here? And then there's this part, and it just is so hilarious. And this cop is like staying at this hotel. He's like chasing the narcos, and he's got to stay at this hotel, and he gets a knock on the door, and it's this like like the wife of the hotel owner, motel, whatever. And she's described in like the most disgusting way. And she's like all flirty with him, and he's just like, yeah, you know, like, okay, whatever, lady, I'm gonna go take a shower, just leave the towels on the bed. So he gets out of the shower, and he's like, he gets out of the shower, he's not dressed, and he walks in and into the room, and the woman is like laying naked on the bed. And so it's described, here, I'll just read it. She was short and gross, her body a boggling array of compound curves. Large flapping breasts hung on her sloping chest belly like shingles on a roof. There was enough dark hair in her crotch to stuff a mattress, and past her thighs he could see the burgeoning flanks of her ass. Come here, she beckoned. So that had me rolling. And then the dude is like, he feels bad because he's getting turned on. He's like, feels guilty. He's like, oh, fuck it, I'm doing it. And then he like had sex with her. And I was like, oh, this guy's the clown. Like, he's the joke. He's not the main character. Like, the good guys are the drug dealers. They're the winners. They're the heroes. And then from then on, the book just cruises along because, I don't know, you're in sync with it now. The main plot of it is these drug dealers are going down to get one final score to get rich, and then they're going to retire. They're not bad dudes. They don't even do drugs. They're just going to get these Quaaludes, bring them in, they get the money, they're done. So the narcotics agent is on them, and they can't figure out why this guy is like, how he knows their moves. So then it's like, oh, they got a leak in the system. Who is it? And then they kind of like turn on each other a little bit, or they become wary of each other. They have a connection in Mexico, so there's the parts down in Mexico without them. So it's like, from the drug dealer in Mexico's perspective, rival drug deals in Mexico, there's executions, there's a bloodbath at one point. And then it's just whether these guys can get these lose do this final deal and be out, and who the weak link is. And towards the end, once it's not that it wasn't entertaining at the beginning, but it got a whole lot better after that motel scene. Once you understood that that's where it was coming from, and you were like rooting for him the whole time, and you continue to do so, and I like the way it was wrapped up, and I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I thought it was going to be really hokey. All right, up next is this 1981 Foxx by Zack Tyler. Yeah. Also, I just realized that I never said who the authors were of the other ones. So, William H. Hallahan wrote Dead of Winter, and Alexander Mason, The Mexican Connection. There's a big spider crawling over here. Okay, so back to Foxx. Foxx was an adult Western series that had 6 entries from 81 to 82 and was written by Mel Marshall under the pseudonym Zack Tyler. I picked this up because it has it looked like the premise was a detective, like a private detective in an Old West setting. And that really appealed to me. I thought it'd be cool, like kind of a Western PI crossover. So Foxx is the guy who works for the C&K Railroad as their personal detective, their in-house detective. So that's, he works for the trains. That's kind of cool. The train's always a pleasant plot piece. So a hobo finds a bomb under one of the tracks, and Foxx has to go investigate this bomb. He single-handedly defuses it, and now he's on the case of who set this bomb. So yeah, he finds the bomb, disarms it, then has a shootout with some guy who gets away. Goes back to town and stumbles upon a suspect. It's not very exciting. And the writing this has to be the most dry book I've ever read. It was just so basic. The dialogue was really simple, and I mean, it sounded like it was basic in a way that it was for young adults. So I'm reading it and I'm like, you know, I think this might be a young adult book. I don't think this is an adult Western like I thought it was going to be, even though it says red hot women on the cover. It was just so bland and so dry, and it was almost like it was written like a Christian novel, like a Christian Western, or like it was written for Mormons or something. So everything is puttering along plot-wise, and it's slow. There's lots of in-depth descriptions of the terrain, his surroundings, like where his boots were made. The guy's way into boots, and it was just too much. It really dragged everything down, and the terminology and the vernacular, like the way the people talk, the slang. It seemed like it was like legit, like it was good. Like this guy really did his research, or he made up some stuff that was very correct sounding. I don't know, because I don't know if it was correct or not, but I mean, it was impressive. It was impressive, but boring to me. Now, if you were like a big Western fan and you wanted to know like details and you were really, really into it, I could see where this would be appealing. So, you know, what's a mark to me may be a check to you. Okay, so yeah, so I'm about ready to quit. I'm like, I don't know, a quarter into it or something. You know, it's a Christian novel, it's a kid's novel, I don't know. It's boring. And then he's at this dinner and there's action, and there's this woman sitting next to him, and like she's impressed, and she's like, "Oh, will you walk me home or whatever, get in my carriage?" And she's like, "Why don't you come in for a hot toddy?" And he's like, "Well, I think I can do a hot toddy, madam." And everything's real proper, and he's a gentleman. I'm like, God, this sucks. And then out of nowhere, this woman is just like, "Let's get it on." And just grabbing boners, and it's on. And I'm like, oh, like this is an adult Western. Okay. Then the person, and then there's like this torture scene with this guy where Foxx is torturing this dude, and he like makes him get naked and, I don't know, eats in front of him or whatever, stares at him for 4 hours, 12 hours. And of course the background is that he was raised by like Comanche Indians, the Comanche Native Indian tribe. And of course, because I think they all are. Any white hero in a Western is usually did some time with the natives. So it was ridiculous and stereotypical, and yeah. It made me go, yeah. So Foxx is the lead character, is unoriginal. He's the toughest, he's the smartest, he's got all the answers, his dick is ever hard, and every lady wants to sleep with him, and you know, he only needs 2 hours of sleep a night, and he's always on watch, and he wakes up like that. He doesn't even need coffee. It's corny. And usually I love corny, but the dryness of the writing and the way that it was still written like a kid's book, like it was just real basic. I almost said dumb. It's not dumb because, like I said, the descriptions and the vernacular and all the time period stuff was really impressive and really smart. But it was just sandpaper in your mouth, in your mind. There's this really weird part where he gets raped by some woman at gunpoint. It's like, what? Okay, that's interesting. They threw that in there, and it's like, I think it's supposed to be like hot, like to us dudes, like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then there is a equally young adult ending where he's in a hot balloon, like going after the bad guys, and it's just so corny. It's just so corny, but not fun corny. I'd probably, I don't know. Who are we kidding? If I seen them out, I'd probably grab them all if they were like $1 or $2. But I would much rather read Scout or something that, I know is more adult, and not young adult. Got it? Okay. All right, next up is this 1951, The Drowning Pool by John Ross MacDonald. This is a Lou Archer novel series. This is the first Lou Archer I've ever read. And I read this a long time ago. I read this like many weeks ago, and I stupidly didn't write anything down, so it's probably going to be a really short review, so I'm not going to remember a lot. Okay, so let's do the basic plot. Basic plot is he's a private detective. He gets hired by this woman who's being blackmailed. The blackmail says that there's dirty pictures of her or something, proof that she's been cheating on her husband. And she wants the letters to stop. She wants the blackmail to cease, and she hires Lou Archer to figure out who's doing it and to stop it. And he's like, I got to investigate your family. So he goes up into the small town of California where she lives. I forget what it's called. And you meet the family, and it's obvious that the investigation is just going to stay right there. It's very similar to like the stereotypical private investigation stories. There's many threads, many characters, conspiracy. There's a rich grandma who won't share with the family, gay husband, and this he's like an actor, and there's the director who's also gay, so there's something going on there. There's a teenage daughter who's frisky, the chauffeur who's hangs out with the teenage daughter who's shady. His life, there's drunks, there's, crooks, mafia dudes, bar. Mystery after mystery. You think it's solved, it's not solved, it's actually this person, so pulling the strings. So it really reminded me of Chinatown, the movie Chinatown, and I thought that the Jake Gittes character in Chinatown was probably based off of Lou Archer because he acts very similar. And even like the setting reminded me of Chinatown, where they go into this small place in California, and there's the family and the family secrets, and I don't know. There's not really much more I can say about it because I read it so long ago and I don't remember now. But I remember really liking it. I loved the Lou Archer character. I'm so glad that I have more on my shelves waiting to be read. And I'm very much looking forward to it. And this is quintessential era hard-boiled detective story. All right. Next up is Robert E. Howard, Black Canaan. This is the horror fantasy collection put out by Berkeley in 1978. So I guess we'll just do it like this. We'll do the review of Black Canaan, and then I'll just kind of like sum up the rest of it, the whole feel of the book. Black Canaan's about a guy from a well-to-do family who is in New Orleans and then gets called back to his swamp property, and there's strange goings on. There's a voodoo guy who's moved in and rallied the ex-slaves, and they are going to kill all the white people. I don't know, take it over. He's just told that come back, shit's going down. And okay, so obviously the language is bad, and lots of bad. There's lots of bad going on. Lots of inappropriate stuff. Beyond that, the voodoo stuff is awesome. The ambience is awesome. The setting is awesome. They're in this swamp. The monster, I guess it's not a monster, as it's zombies, and they're like in the water, and I don't know. They're just, the way this is written is horrific and absolutely something that sticks with you in your mind. The horror aspect. Now, from then on, it's not as good as the Robert E. Howard that I'm used to. I'm not saying it's bad, and in fact, some of it was really fun. And if it wasn't Robert E. Howard, I probably would have loved it a lot more. It reminded me a lot of the stories that were in the Atomic Werewolves and Man-Eating Plants men's adventure book that I did the review of, where it was like short, very like Hoagie B grade type stories, really quick and ridiculous, but lots of fun. And a lot of that was this, which all of the Robert E. Howard I've ever read is not like that at all. Like, it's like adventure and not literary, but not B writing, not B grade writing. So it did have the H.P. Lovecraft inspired writing, which I was so excited. I was so excited to finally check this out. Robert E. Howard, like, writing like H.P. Lovecraft style just seemed so exciting to me. And then I got to it, and I was like, you know what? This isn't clicking for me. This is, it's weird. It's not, it's just, Robert E. Howard was given a gift, and the gift was like action and adventure, sword and sorcery. And man, he could do that better than anyone, you know? And you would figure that, oh, he's just, you know, you give him anything, it's going to be amazing. But when you read the H.P. Lovecraft inspired stories, you're used to reading H.P. Lovecraft writing those kind of stories, and no one is going to do it as good. And like, that was, you know, H.P. Lovecraft had that special gift. And I bet if H.P. Lovecraft tried to write a murder mystery or something, it would fall flat. You know, it would be, or not exactly fall flat, but just be kind of run of the mill. And I that's how I kind of feel about the Robert E. Howard Cthulhu based, or not Cthulhu based, but Lovecraft style, because it's not Cthulhu based. So yeah, there's a couple stories in here where, like, it's written from the first person. I'm about to tell you a story. You'll think I'm mad, or I'm going mad. People are always going mad. Evil. There's some evil force that's unworldly from another world. Lovecraft stuff. And it was interesting, and I don't regret reading it, and it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I think this is my least favorite Robert E. Howard that I've ever read. Not that it was bad, but if you're not aware of these Berkeley editions that came out in the 70s, they have little posters that flip out in the book of the cover. This is from one of the stories. It's the front cover, but it's not from Black Canaan. It's an actual story with these giant crab creatures who are sentient. They're like smart. I think maybe alien. I don't remember. But I was like, that's the story that really reminded me of the Atomic Werewolves book. Weird Tales. Stuff that would be in Weird Tales. It actually probably was in Weird Tales. So that's everything. Thanks for watching to the end, I guess. Bye.